It's the 27th of February and it's 2016, which means that it's now the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and I love Pokemon. Pokemon is my favourite video game franchise, and I can talk literally for hours about Pokemon. Not even just in the competitive battling sense, more than anything else, just I love the memories I have with Pokemon. And one of the reasons I love Pokemon so much is because it was through playing Pokemon that I can actually pinpoint the exact moment in my life where I realised that I could read. And it was, I was 3, and I was taught to read quite young. From the age of about 2, I was being taught to read. And I was born in 1994, which means I was only 2 when Pokemon came out. And I remember being about 3 or 4, and I heard about Pokemon, and I was told that I couldn't have Pokemon because I couldn't read. Henceforth, I would not be able to play the game, which, in all honesty, is pretty true. Like, you don't need to be able to read in order to play Mario. It could certainly help, but Pokemon you have to be able to read in order to play. And I think I was about 3, and Pokemon was this cool thing, and I'm playing Pokemon. I'm not really understanding it, and I'm having to get my uncle to read it for me. I even remember, like, just the delivery of the line of, I've had my coffee, now I feel great. And it was the most wooden performance ever on behalf of my Uncle Craig, and it was something that just stuck with me. And then I remember, not even much longer later, I was still 3 at the time, and I realised I can read this, and I'm understanding it. I mean, slowly, but I'm understanding it. And just when I've gotten really into Pokemon Red and Blue, bear in mind, I mean, kids today, I don't think totally appreciate how big Pokemon was. I mean, Pokemon was always big, but Pokemon was huge back then. I mean, Pokemon was everywhere. I mean, I cannot imagine how annoying it must have been for adults. I mean, you know the Minions movie, and how the Minions are everywhere? That has nothing on what Pokemon was like. I mean, the anime was basically the most popular show on TV. When you consider Pokemon has relatively few video games when compared to Mario, but Pokemon is actually the 2nd highest selling video game franchise ever, and it's done that without ever actually topping the sales of the original games. So bear that in mind, of these original games skyrocketed Pokemon right to the top of, like, the highest selling video games. Just these 2 games, Red and Blue, and then later Yellow. It's huge. The anime is so popular that Pokemon Yellow literally gets created because of how popular the anime was. I cannot imagine how annoying it must have been to be an adult or to be someone that didn't like Pokemon. I mean, in hindsight, I have a lot of sympathy for those people now. I still love it, but I can fully appreciate how that must have been one of the most annoying times to ever be alive. I must have been about 4 by this point, because just as I'm really getting into Pokemon, Gold and Silver come out. And Gold and Silver, because I'm not sure I'd describe myself as a Gen 1er, although when I first played Gen 1, it was the only gen at the time. I would argue I'm probably a fair bit younger than most other Gen 1ers that were around at the time, because I think most people that said they started off with Gen 1, they're about 26, 27, and I'm obviously a lot younger than that. So Gold and Silver come out, and I think Gold and Silver is where a lot of my best memories really started, because it's what felt like an amazing technological jump. In all likeliness, like, it wasn't a huge technical jump. It was still very low-bit graphics, but there was colour, because I had a Game Boy Color, so it meant that everything in Pokemon Red was red, and everything in Pokemon Blue was just blue. And then Gold and Silver came out, and they actually had colour colour, and the sprites of the Pokemon actually looked like the Pokemon, rather than whatever this is meant to be. Apparently this is meant to be Pidgey, but no. And I come to think of which, why do only Charizard and Clefable look even remotely decent in the original artwork? Even at the time, they weren't meant to look like this. Like, there was concept art fully available, and that was what they were supposed to look like, but they just didn't. And then Gold and Silver come out, and I never got to replay through Kanto in Gold and Silver. Everyone says that that's like their favourite moment when they went back to, you know, I never actually managed to even get there, because, I don't know, I was like 5 and just getting distracted by chasing Entei. I remember chasing Entei all around Hoenn, slowly working out the pattern in which to try to catch him. I'd get there, mean look, he can't escape now, he uses Roar, my Haunter just shits itself and runs away. So, he still got me there. I never did catch Entei in that game. Yeah, if I could load up my cartridge for that game now, he's still wandering about Johto on red health. I remember Hoenn, the first time that I remember the new games actually being announced. It seems not that long ago, but Hoenn is over 10 years old. Like, Hoenn's actually been around for a long time, really. And so Gen 3, I remember not it being announced on the internet, because I didn't use the internet back then. I remember seeing a magazine that had Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip. I was like, oh my god, new Pokemon is happening. So, new Pokemon is happening, and because new Pokemon is happening, that means there's going to be new Pokemon, and they are happening, and that is why I was like super mental excited. And then I played Hoenn, and I wasn't really, even as a kid, that in love with it, but it was the first Pokemon game that I actually beat, so to speak. Like, Pokemon's a game that goes on forever, but I beat the main story, and I'd never actually done that with a game before, and it was like the coolest thing ever. It was mental, it was crazy, and I think Hoenn is where a lot of people actually jump on. And the reason I say that is because I don't really see many Gen 2ers or many Gen 4ers. Like, you don't really see them. You don't see many people going Gen 2 or Gen 4 or Gen 5 was the best gen. You don't really get that. It tends to be either Gen 1 or Gen 3. And I think that might be because Gen 3 didn't have nearly as many Pokemon from Gen 1 and 2 wandering about. Whereas Gen 1 and, like, whereas Gen 2, you know, you had a lot of, like, Gen 1, like Rattata and Pidgey and Youngster Joey's fucking Rattata, and you had stuff like that. Whereas Gen 3, you did have them, but not in anywhere near the same frequency, so maybe it was easier as like a jumping on point, or maybe that was just when more people started playing, but I've never seen a Gen 2 or a Gen 4er, really. But I wasn't really in love with Hoenn, and I think it's because it stripped back on a lot of the things that I liked from Gold and Silver. So it was not disappointing, but I never got as into it. And then Gen 4 comes out, and by the time Gen 4 comes out, I'm actually using the internet. I have no idea how I learned of this being a thing. I was on Mariland.com and there was a playthrough of the Japanese early release of Diamond and Pearl, and this is the most exciting thing on the planet to me. And of course I got the games, and I might be one of the only people on planet Earth that actually prefers Diamond and Pearl to Hoenn. I think I might actually be the only person to ever say those words aloud, and I might be the last, because I hear pitchforks sharpening and torches being lit already from saying that. And then Heart Gold and Soul Silver came around, and I realised I skipped over Fire Red and Leaf Green, and the reason for that is because I didn't have an awful lot to say about it, because I didn't play it to anywhere near the same degree as I did Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like, that was amazing. That is my pick for the best Pokemon game ever. We have Gen 5, and Gen 5 was good. I like Black and White. They don't stick with me quite the same way as the others do, and I think that might be the story now as I'm getting older. As much as I still love the Pokemon games, I'm not having the same rich memories that I did from the earlier ones, and maybe it's just that I'm getting older now, but I just don't enjoy the games any less. Maybe in 10 years' time, I will remember some more like fond memories of like these newer games. But I remember exactly where I was when X and Y were announced, and I was in a media classroom in college, and they had announced that there was going to be an announcement, because that's what game developers do. They announce the announcement. So they announced the announcement, and then my friend, he says, "Oh, have you heard that they are making..." And I played X and Y, and that is pretty much where we are now. It was the first 3D games. We had Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and it's really strange that I can, through 15 minutes, just ramble 20 years of my life with these games. But now it's February 27th, 2016, and the day before the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, they've announced Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. They've kept everything pretty quiet. We don't know what the starters are, we don't know what the legendaries are. We have no clue about anything right now. In fact, we might not even know if it's actually Gen 7 or not. We don't know anything yet. But just that shocking knowledge to me that it was 20 years ago. And this is what I love about Pokemon, is you can think of any moment from your childhood. You can think of it when you first encounter Snorlax and it's been blocking your way, and then you finally use the flute to wake it up. And it's just the most terrifying experience for that split second where it's at a really high level and you had no clue, and you're like, oh my god, I pissed it off. And you're a little kid, and when you're a little kid, everything is so much more real. Video games feel so much more real. Like, bad guys are terrifying. And I was actually a little bit scared of Snorlax for some reason. Not in that, like, I mean, it was great when I caught him, but not just that, but I mean, everyone has their memories of Lavender Town and the creepy music, which I never had much of a problem with. I think everyone can relate to Whitney's Milk Tank, except for the few people to say they had no problem with Whitney's Milk Tank. They're lying. There's just so many great memories I have with these games, especially the first two gens. I have these amazing memories of the first two gens, and all the gens since I have a lot of fondness for. I like all of the games, and I'm really excited about Sun and Moon. Just the announcement that they exist has me squealing like a little girl, in spite of not knowing anything about them. And normally I hate when fans get like that, but I am just as guilty of it with Pokemon. I think even if you're not into Pokemon, even if that's not your thing, I think everyone has that game, or that comic book, or that movie, or that place that you're filled with nostalgia. People that be like, oh, I used to like Pokemon, but then I grew up. Those people are just miserable bastards. I have no idea how someone can live their life like that. Because one of the great things about life is you don't really have to grow up. You just need to grow a bit more responsible. So long as you can be responsible, that doesn't mean you can't be a massive kid and enjoy all the same things you did when you were a kid. Some people find it creepy. I think it's creepier when you've got someone that just can't be a kid again for a little while. And I think everyone's got their thing from when they were kids that they can still get misty-eyed over. I love that. And that's what Pokemon is always going to be to me. But what I love is that Pokemon has grown up with me. I'm going to cut this video now at 20 minutes, 20 years of Pokemon and 20 years of my life. I think I've said pretty much all I've got to say. Please write to me about your memories with Pokemon, because I think we all have some. Even if you hated it, tell me what impact it had on you. Thank you, and good night.